Welcome to new user training for the Budget Planning and Analysis System. This brief training will provide an overview of how the system is organized, how data is structured, and where data originates. We will begin by navigating to the administrative portal. Use your state ID and password for SWIFT or Semaphore to sign in. BPAS is a statewide system and therefore will appear under the Enterprise menu. Select Budget Planning and Analysis to continue. Two windows will appear. The first is the Oracle Enterprise Performance Management System page, and the second is BPAS. Once BPAS has successfully launched, you may close out of both the Oracle Enterprise Performance page and the Administrative Portal page. This will prevent confusing timeout notifications. From the BPAS homepage, users can navigate to recently opened reports and applications, as well as favorited reports and applications, and the planning applications themselves. The first time a user logs into BPAS, they will have to set their preferences. Users only have to do this once, however, they do have to set their preferences for each application. To set your preferences for BPAS, either select BPAS underneath the Planning options on the Quick Links menu on the right-hand side of your home page, or go to Navigate, Applications, Planning, and BPAS. Both options will open the BPAS application for you. Next, select File, Preferences. This opens the Preferences menu. Select the Display Options tab and proceed to set your preferences. The thousands separator should be set to comma, and the decimal separator should be set to dot. For negative signs, select parentheses, and for negative color, select red. Set the page and other options as desired. Once your display options have been set, navigate to the Financial Reporting option in the left-hand menu. The User Point of View preview should be on, the thousands separator should be set to comma, and the decimal separator should be set to period. Click OK. These steps are to be repeated in both the change and transfer applications. Now that we know how to set our preferences, let's take a look at BPAS itself. BPAS is broken up into three different applications: BPAS, Change, and Transfer. BPAS is the main application where base and base adjustments will occur. Change is the decision-making application that tracks change items and follows the status of agency proposals through the budget process. Approved change items are moved into BPAS. The transfer application allows the tracking to and from appropriations. Individual transfers are entered and net transfer amounts are moved to BPAS. It is important to remember that data from change and transfer are entered in separate applications and moved into BPAS on a schedule. Transfer data is moved to BPAS at the top of the hour. By 10 minutes after the hour, data will be in BPAS and ready for reporting. BPAS is a dimensional database. What this means is that data is stored at dimensional intersections within the system. Users will need to make a selection from each dimension in order to enter data or to see data in a report. The fund dimension is used to track fiscal information by fund and uses the same codes as used in SWIFT. The year dimension is the fiscal year that you are currently looking at. The period dimension allows data to be entered by month and reported on by quarter or year. All data in BPAS is stored in the month of July. The entity dimension is the dimension that has the agency program structure. Each agency has appropriations that point to budget activities that point to programs that point to the agency. Each agency belongs to a bill area. Each bill area rolls into the statewide total. All of the data in BPAS also exists in SWIFT. The difference between this data is the hierarchy and organization of the members. The members of the account hierarchy are the revenue and expense codes in SWIFT. The BPAS account dimensions roll up the revenue and expense codes in an available resources lens. This means that all money available to spend is equal to the total amount of resources to spend. Expenditure codes are the way to spend the available resources. We will be creating an additional account hierarchy in September that will be used for departmental earnings reporting. This hierarchy rolls up the revenue codes in an alternative way to show agencies' departmental earnings revenue. Each hierarchy is for reporting and organizational use. The scenario dimension is used in BPAS to track the point in time in which we publish data. For instance, actual, governor's recommendations, November base, base change, governor's revised recommendations, February base, change revised, enacted May base, and enacted change. The version dimension allows the flexibility to have multiple iterations of each scenario. We utilize working and final. The first year of a biennium, we copy our working data to biennium final. We then enter data again in the working version. The second year of the biennium, we copy data to the supplemental final version. You must know the scenario and version combination to know at what point of the 2-year budget cycle the data was entered. Data will be in the system for 2 years, meaning that on June 30th of 2016, users will be able to run a report to see the November base data for November 2014. As long as users know the correct scenario and version to look at, the information will return on the correct report. To understand where dimension members are located within a dimension hierarchy, you can run a dimension hierarchy report. To run this report, click on Explore in BPAS. Double-click on Detailed Reports on the left-hand navigation menu. Double-click again on Dimension Hierarchy Reports. This will bring you to the list of Dimension Hierarchy Reports currently available to you in BPAS. There is a report for each dimension with the exception of period. Double-click on the account report. This report will open to the top of the account hierarchy. Select the arrow on the left-hand side of Account Net to drill down. Use the tabs at the top of the page to navigate back to the Explore Detail Reports Dimension Hierarchy tab. This will bring you back to the list of Dimension Hierarchy reports. Double-click on the Account Selection Report. A User Point of View box will pop up. You will utilize this report to find a specific account in the hierarchy and see how it rolls up. We will be using 41196 for this example. Click on Select and the account hierarchy will open. You can either drill down in the account hierarchy to find the account code, or you can enter the account code in the search box. The asterisk acts as a wildcard in the search box. Again, we are using 41196 for this example. Once your account code has been entered, select the binoculars to find the account. Select the radio button next to your desired search results and select OK. Select OK again. The user point of view prompt should return with the selected account in the search box. Select OK. The report will pull back the levels above the account entered. In this case, 41196 IT Centralized Services rolls up to Purchase Services, which rolls up to Operating Expenses, which rolls up to Non-Payroll Expenses, which rolls up to Expenditures, which is users under Account Net. You can close your reports by selecting the X at the top of the Account Selection tab, and again the X under the Account tab. We will now run BPAS forms and review appropriations. Select BPAS from the Planning Application list. The main window shows the 2 different composite forms in BPAS. In order to open either the General Fund form or the Other Funds form, The user must select from the left-hand navigation panel. The general fund form is to be used for general funds only. The other funds form is for working in funds other than the general fund. Select the Budget Entry General Fund form. All data is entered at the 0 level. Data entry is performed at the appropriation level. You can search either by typing the appropriation number or the appropriation name in the member box. Once you have selected your desired appropriation, click on the arrow on the right-hand side of the drop-down menu. You will see all of the revenues and expenditures loaded from SWIFT for this appropriation. If, in the process of budgeting, you need to plan for revenue or expenditures that were not budgeted in SWIFT, you can add additional accounts to the rows. To add a new account to the form, navigate to the Add Account tab. Enter the fiscal data associated with that account code that you want to be added back to the main entry form and click Save. Go back to the Appropriations tab. You should see the account you added with the numbers entered. You can make adjustments on this page if necessary. For example, if you wish to edit the certification fees in fiscal year 13, simply click on the box and type in your edits. Keep in mind that a yellow box indicates that your data has yet to be saved. In order to save your data, go to the top left-hand side of the screen and select the floppy disk icon. If, during data entry, you wish to adjust your number by a larger number or a larger percentage, you may right-click on the box, select Adjust, and select Adjust Data. This will bring up the Adjust Data window, from which you can adjust your number by either a value or a percentage. For example, I'm going to increase this number by 5%. If you wish to enter the same number in multiple cells, simply copy that number, select multiple cells, and paste. As a reminder, your data has not been saved until the boxes are no longer yellow. Select the Save icon from the top left-hand side of your page. If FTE data has been tied to this appropriation, you will be able to find FTE data entry available at the very bottom of this form. FTE fields are to be edited just as any other field. If the box is white, this means that it is available for editing. You may select the box, make your changes, and hit enter. As a reminder, your data has not been saved until you select the Save button at the top left-hand side of your screen. To exit BPAS, select the X at the top of the BPAS tab. We will now take a look at forms in Transfer. From the BPAS homepage, select the Transfer Planning application. The transfer application will first open to the task list. To get to your forms, either select the Transfer Forms link in the left-hand menu or select Forms in the left-hand list. Once again, the form and ad hoc grid management are informational only. Select the Transfers General Fund form from the left-hand navigation. As in BPAS, data is entered at the appropriation level. Select an appropriation and fund to transfer money out of, and an appropriation and fund to transfer money to. Select the Go arrow. If transfers occurred between your selected appropriations and funds in fiscal year 12 through fiscal year 15, the transfer amount will show up on the form. If no transfers have occurred between your selected appropriations and funds, the form will be empty. Once you have finished entering your transfers, select the Legal Citation General Fund tab. The cell is currently red because no legal citation has been entered. Type in the legal citation for the budget transfer and select Save. The transfer data entered in the transfer application will be moved to BPAS at the top of every hour. Enter your transfer by 59 minutes after the hour, and you should see the transfer data in BPAS reports by 10 after the hour. In order to access data, you have to select one member from every dimension. Forms and reports pre-select some data to limit the selections that you have to make. For example, forms and reports all point to the period dimension equaling July because this is where all data is stored. Some reports and forms pre-select the version or the year depending on the data being collected. Pre-populated dimensions will typically be found in the point of view selection on the form. Any dimensions that you have to select will be found in the page section. Data is entered at the lowest level of a dimension. When you run reports at a level higher than an appropriation, an aggregation process will need to occur to see the changes entered. This is true in BPAS and change. The aggregation will occur through an automated process. Forms are pointed to a version. We have left the scenario open in case an agency wishes to utilize the what-if scenario. This is secure to the agency. MMB is unable to see the data entered in this scenario. After the deadline for each version, MMB locks out agencies to reconcile fund level data. Once reconciliation is completed and documents are published, we copy the data to the biennial final or supplemental final version, repoint the forms to the next version, and open up the system for entry once again. Keep in mind that all dollars are entered in thousands, with the exception of FTE, which is entered to 2 decimals. One other option for viewing reports is to select the Explore option in BPAS. This option takes you to all of the canned reports built in the system. The folders are organized by the product they are used to produce or reconcile against. The Consolidated Fund Statement folder holds reports used to generate the Consolidated Fund Statement. Agencies that have fund responsibilities will run the 5A and 5B reports to reconcile their funds. Immediately following the opening of BPAS, we will start building an additional form for departmental earnings entries. Reports tied to departmental earnings entries will be held in the departmental earnings folder. The Detail Reports folder holds the majority of the base budget reports. The Fiscal Page Reports folder holds reports that will be used for the fiscal year 16-17 budget books. The General Fund Statement folder contains reports that are used to reconcile the general fund statement. The Statewide Level folder contains reports used to reconcile fund level and state agency totals. For a more in-depth look at reports, please refer to the Reports training video. Understanding how we utilize dimensions is critical to pulling data out of the system correctly. Data is stored at the intersection of all 7 dimensions, so when pulling information out of the system, all 7 dimensions must be selected. Whenever possible, reports pre-select some dimension information, such as period equaling July, so users may not always select members. The BPAS definition for selecting from each category for all 7 dimensions. However, when using SmartView, you must select members for all 7 dimensions. Most reports will ask you to select the version and scenario. This slide provides an overview of how to use the 2 dimensions in order to find data entered at different points in time. Keep in mind that data entered by the top of the hour will be aggregated into BPAS between 0 and 10 minutes after the hour and ready for reporting between 10 minutes and 59 minutes after the hour. This schedule is designed to minimize the amount of time data is missing or not adding up correctly. Looking ahead at the 16-17 biennial budget development, agencies used to be able to update their programmatic structure in BPS. Because BPAS is built on metadata, changes to metadata and dimension members once loaded from SWIFT can only be made by MMB. Agencies should make sure that all appropriations needed for fiscal year 15 through fiscal year 19 budgeting exist in SWIFT, are coded to the correct type code, budget activity, and program by August 15th. If additional appropriations or changes to existing appropriations are needed, contact your budget officer.